Welcome to the Dream Power Show, where your dreams turn into reality. Here is your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Welcome to the Dream Power Show. I'm your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman, the Dream Coach. It's the men's turn to shine on this edition of the Dream Power Show. By that, I mean we've got four powerful men here to help guide you to be who you were always meant to be. We start off with my old friend and dream magician, Walter Berry, who will tell you all about the awfulness of dreams. Then we talk about breathwork and how it can alter your mood in a good way with conscious performance coach, Chris Plourde. Fulfillment Catalyst Howard Sambol will teach you how to rediscover the flame in your life and create a fulfilling career for yourself. But all that means nothing if you're not feeling well. Justin Frandson will speak about the hidden danger to your health and how to mitigate it. Sounds like a jam-packed hour, doesn't it? Well, let's begin. Here's a quote for you to ponder. Dreaming is the magical wellspring of the soul's vitality. Does that bring up anything for you? Well, it certainly makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, dreams are the way we access our innermost thoughts and beliefs. And I guess you could say that there is a little bit of magic to it. I mean, 1 minute we're awake and living our rational daily lives, and then we fall asleep and enter this wondrous world where literally anything can happen, and often does. The author of that quote, I'm happy to say, is back to give us his insights into his magical world of dreams. I've had Walter Berry on this program before, but that was before he came out with his long-awaited book, Drawn into the Dream. Now that it's out and I've had a chance to really digest it, I fully encourage all of you to get your hands on it as soon as possible. It's one of the most informative and entertaining books on dreams I've read in a long time, and I'm excited to talk about it. So let's begin. Welcome to the Dream Power Show, Walter.
Thank you for having me. I love being here with you. You're amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, Walter, the subtitle of your book is how drawing your dreams can take you to the land of Oz.
Mhm.
Well, as the Wizard of Oz, tell me, what is so awful about dreams?
Dreams are completely full of awe, of course. Awe is that wondrous state where you feel smaller than everything else. It's this, like when you're standing in front of some giant outdoor thing like the Grand Canyon or something, and you get this sense of awe. Or even sometimes people have done it where they do awe walks, where you just go out and you just let things happen, and you're looking at a leaf and things just something happens to them. The dreams are the same way. They have these incredible images, feelings, emotions, experiences that bring us to a sense of awe if we allow them to. It's an amazing. I love dreams. I love dreams.
I know you love dreams. Do you ever feel sorry for people who tell you they don't remember their dreams?
Kind of, yeah. And when they ask that, I say, okay, you just have to work at it. It's just like anything else. It's like, oh, I don't know how to get fit. Well, you go to the gym. The same thing with dreams. You just have to work at it a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, you are a visual person, and
Mhm.
you wrote this book because you are the person who draws out his dreams. So tell me, what do you get from drawing a dream that you don't get from writing it down?
There's a couple of things. First of all, sometimes, quite often, things appear that you don't imagine appear, and I think it's our the unconscious speaking to us. It's like suddenly there's a thing that looks like a banana in there, and you go, oh, or it looks like a phallic symbol, or it looks like something that you don't want it to be, or whatever. There's things that appear on the drawing, and so it feels sometimes when you're especially just sketching things like that, there's just an incredible sense that stuff appears. And the other piece of it, that's the real principle of what I work with, is the fact that you have this drawing in front of you while you're doing the work. and you keep studying it and you keep looking at it, and it becomes a reference point. I think that, everybody does, a lot of people do different types of dream work, but mostly it's based in words. It's all based in words. But dreams come mostly in a visual form to begin with. There's a flying monkey who lands on top of the Empire State Building and turns into a gorilla, and he lands and becomes a woman, or whatever it is that happens in the dreams. It's a visual thing for the most part. And so by drawing the dream, you're in essence taking it back to the beginning of what the dream's about. And in having that, you have that structure, you have a framework to work from to understand what it's trying to say to you. I mean, it's like, when I discovered this, it was like, oh my God, it was so simple to me because I'm a visual person. I'm a very, visual person.
Tell me, what about somebody like me who I do not consider myself an artist in any way, shape, or form, and that I draw stick figures? I mean, can you get good insights just from stick figures?
To tell you the truth, it's better. It's usually better than I have in my dream group and a number of workshops I've done. I have actually world famous artists, not world, but really good artists. And their drawings sometimes are really good, but usually the people that just draw the stick figures, it's much better because it's like being a kid. And what I tell people is like, just get over it. Just like use stick figures, use a splotch of color. You're trying to tell a story and get over the idea, because we have this idea that we're not artists, and when kids will do it, like, kids love drawing their dreams, and it's no problem to them. But we've learned that, so we have that thing. My thought is just get over it and just draw some stick figures and bubbles that say, I am here, or whatever you need to express something. And when you do that, and we put it in front of people and start working it, magic happens, the awe appears, it's amazing. It's amazing.
And what if you have a dream and you're not even sure of what, if there are colors in it or what the colors are? Do you encourage the person to put color in when they're drawing it?
Yes. I mean, they don't have to. Some people and they draw it with a pencil. Okay, I'll go with that. But I encourage color because, when you do that, it then, the colors can, and I reach over for a color and I'm not sure what to get. I grab a red, and so you can relate it to certain things like, certain chakra colors, to passion, to, because colors usually mean something to us. If I'm putting a color on something, first of all, it's like, because it's a guy with a green face or whatever, like it was a monster in the thing. It's realistic, but mostly there's a reaction to the color. Color has meaning, so you don't have to, but it's really helpful to have color in the dream or in the drawing.
When talking about drawing the dream, you talk about the concept of dream maps. So can you explain what you mean by that and how you use them to work a dream?
Oh, absolutely. Basically, I try to have people draw the actual story of the dream. Okay, there's two people walking along. They're going up a mountain. So they draw two stick figures and a little line that makes a mountain. Then they land in New York City. So you draw little buildings like that. And then, so you have, in a sense, a map of where the dreamer has been during the dream. And as you do that, what happens is that it fleshes out, it becomes a story. It becomes a movie in a sense. And you can go back to any point in the story and look at it and say, well, how difficult was it climbing that mountain? How was it when you came to New York City? So there's a way that the map lays out the journey in the dream. It's not always, linear, but it has usually it shows the journey that happens in the dream, and suddenly things will start fitting together. It's an amazing process sometimes.
So do you find though that even if the dream drawing does not have a lot of information on it, that when you talk about it, all the details emerge?
Yes. And again, it's not a perfect science. It's again, this is all. It's not like people are people, and they have their stories and they have their things behind it. And what happens, of course, is that they draw this stuff, and I go, okay, well, what does that remind you of, or why, what is it about your sister Susan that you drew her 6 times bigger than yourself? You know what I mean? There's, again, it's like art therapy works this way too, you know, where so it's not a new science, but it's like suddenly my sister I've drawn 6 times bigger than me, and she's right next to me. Well, now it's about my relationship to my sister and how I feel about her, and you're looking at that sort of thing. So it's like, did I answer the question? I thought I went off in another direction, didn't I? Huh?
Oh, that's okay. That's what dreams do. Dreams
Yes.
start one place and take you to another place, and then you sort of wind around and get back to where you're supposed to be in the first place. But
Yes.
exactly, which brings mind the next analogy I wanted to ask you about. Um, Sometimes I think dreams are kind of like being on a roller coaster.
Hmm.
How do you feel about that?
Oh, absolutely. There's, especially in the emotional sense. It's like, for me, I hate roller coasters. I'm just not I'm a freak with that stuff. It goes, "Ah, I'm too scared. I'm a chicken." But it's like, there is a way that it wants, the dreams, I think, want to take us through an emotional state to experience it. You know, there's like a lot of dreams, for instance, are what I call frustration dreams, right? They are, I open the lid, but I can't get it open. I go to the door and somebody's holding it closed. I get on the train, but it's the wrong train. I get, you know, those type of things are so common. But what it's doing is it's creating an emotion that says, I'm frustrated. And it wants me to look, I think, wants me to look at some part of my life where I'm frustrated, you know, where it's so it has a direct relationship to that.
When you talked about, recrafting or working on the dream in your waking time, and another place where this is can be very effective is when we're dealing with nightmares.
Oh,
So
yes.
yeah, so tell me, how do we know when to do that and make up a continuation of the story of the dream? When do we know when it's a good thing to do that, or to just leave the dream the way it is?
Yeah, there's that's a really interesting place. Now, there's some very particular things like with PTSD that it's a whole different thing, that it becomes a therapeutic thing that needs to be dealt with in a different way. But for the most part, nightmares are incredible stories that don't have an ending. Usually what happens is we wake up when somebody stabs me in the chest and I go, ah, and I wake up, or a grenade falls and lands and it blows up and I wake up. Well, what that is an unfinished dream. So it almost, again, it's that method where I just go, well, okay, if what happens next, he stabs me, then what do I do? Do I pull the knife out and stab him, or whatever they want to make up? But the nightmare, in a sense, there are modalities which they use this dream rehearsal therapy, where they go, you can actually talk about the dream in waking life and say, okay, instead of, as the guy reaches with a knife and to plunge it in me, I grab his hand and I pull it out of it. You know, simple like that. If you do that in waking life, sometimes the nightmare will disappear. Because sometimes it depends on whether it's also repetitive nightmare. There's a whole bunch of areas like this. But with a nightmare, for me, to draw it, and have that guy with a hand with a knife up in the air, and then to talk about it, and then maybe draw something, which, a new drawing of it, or whatever you want to do. But it's basically, it is a dream that is not finished. Nightmares are uncompleted dreams a lot of times, So
Mhm.
that's kind of one way to work with it.
Yeah. So when you're drawing a nightmare, do you draw it before you work on finishing it, or after? Or both?
Before what usually when I work with in a group, not necessarily in with a single person, but with a group, I actually put the drawing away. They have them draw it first. Just draw your dream, whatever it is. They tell the dream, the nightmare, and we hear it, and then we put the drawing up and we go, oh, and then we tell it again. So now we're into the story. We're into it. It's not just like, I'm going to tell you my nightmare and then I'm going to be upset. It's going to be, I'm going to tell my nightmare, I'm going to show my nightmare, I'm going to tell my nightmare again. We're going to get into this thing. We're going to find something in it. It doesn't always resolve. It's not like just a magic bullet, but many times things appear feelings come out, you get an incredible sense, and I love to change it at the end. I mean, whatever it is, the guy stabs me and I die. Okay, and then what? Oh, I didn't think about that. I go, oh, well, I go to heaven. Okay, what's heaven like? So whatever it is, you can move this thing along, and even if it's a false ending, if it doesn't work for them, you throw that out, you go somewhere else. It's a joyful experience to be able to, you just play with these things in a way, and stuff appears, and with great respect for the people. The most important thing are people and their feelings and their experiences. The dream is secondary to that. It's about the dreamer. What are they experiencing? What are they feeling? What are they seeing? What are they understanding? And can I help them? Can I have a sense of awe that I can offer to them somehow? If that makes any sense.
Oh, absolutely. And, we said before that you've spent many years working with dreamers in groups and helping them with their dreams. How has hearing so many dreams affected your own dreams or your dreaming process?
Oh, hugely. I mean, sometimes I actually dream similar dreams to the people that I work the dreams from, and actually, the reason I love this is it's a voyeuristic sort of thing to be a dream worker, because I actually get into this woman had a dream where she had a black panther that was coming up the side of the mountain, and she said, it's moving and it's looking for me and it's hunting, and I got the movement, the feeling in my body, that I was a panther. And so that goes with me. There's all through the day, I was walking around like a panther. That sounds silly, but it was like, oh, I'm hunting for something. So it has a direct effect on me. And I go, okay, where can I use that in my life? How can I see that? It's somebody else's dream, but it's affecting me. Because I think that's what life is about. It's about sharing. It's about community. It's about empathy. Oh my God, empathy. If I can understand a little bit about what that person and that incredible animal that's inside of her, if I can get a little bit of that, I'm a better person, as she is too. Empathy, sympathy, understanding. It's what life is about. We need to be together, in this world.
Absolutely. What would your life be like if you didn't work with dreams?
Oh my God, would I be a bore? Yeah, I mean, I came to dreams, not in my 30s or so, and before that, I was just kind of a worker-bee kind of person, didn't remember any dreams, and yeah, it was boring compared to this.
Well, you are certainly not boring anymore, I'll tell you that much. So, Walter, how can people find out more about you and your book and your work?
I have a site called, it's drawnintothedream.com. It's the same as the title of the book, drawnintothedream.com, or you can just go to Amazon, buy the book, Drawn into the Dream. And it's available, and it will change your life a little bit.
We've been talking about dreams with the Wizard of Oz, Walter Berry. We'll be right back with our next guest. It's something we do automatically, and we never think about it while we go about our day. We literally can't live without it. Yet, when we learn how to use it and how to control it, it can actually give us clarity and help us see our true potential. I'm talking about breathing, and more specifically, the practice of breath work. The act of paying attention to how we breathe has been proven to be beneficial to both our physical and mental well-being. How? Well, we're going to find out more about breath work with my guest, conscious performance coach, Chris Plourde. Chris has been working with companies and groups for years to help them perform at their peak performance in all areas of their lives. And breathwork plays a big part in that. Welcome to the Dream Power Show, Chris.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it is my pleasure. And Chris, for those who are not familiar with breathwork, can you give us a short explanation of what it is?
Sure. Breathwork is There's a couple different ways of going about breath work. The way I like to teach it is like a holotropic type of movement. It's a deep breathing we do for an extended period of time, can be anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour. And what it basically does is it fulfills the body or fills the body up with oxygen, CO2, and allows stuck energy to be moved. Right. And that stuck energy could be something like emotions, it could be memories, it could be something that we've been holding down. But the whole point is to really let the layers come off, the mask come off, so that you can get in touch with your soul, you can get in touch with your dreams, you can get in touch with who you really are, so that you're able to make these authentic, real, intimate connections with people that I think most of us really crave, and most importantly, ourselves. Another quick one, it stabilizes the nervous system, it brings down cortisol levels. There's just benefit after benefit of what breath work is and what it can do for us.
Yeah, I want to talk about some of the benefits. I mean, because you did talk about, loosening that stuck energy. And a lot of people don't even think that they have energy that's stuck, or anything like that. So you talk a little bit more about that as well.
Sure. So I'm a believer that in our bodies, we hold a lot of stress, a lot of things that we're not sure of. Like, for example, when people get stressed at work or at home, some people feel it in their shoulders, in their arms, in their upper back. What that could be is just a physical response to the whatever is happening on their external, right? So it's a protection, it's something that they store. What this allows us to do is release those areas and kind of take away some of the pain, take away some of the discomfort. And sometimes there is a flood of emotions that come along with that, because I think it's for a lot of us, we've been programmed to bury emotions. We've been programmed to bury certain things that we don't feel because we're trying to get through life as opposed to really being present with what's happening. So this is just one of the things that could remove or allow us to dance with whatever is within us, so to speak, rather than fighting it.
Yeah, it's good to be dancing, that's for sure.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. The times that I've engaged in breath work, I get images in my mind that I find they're very similar to my dreams. Is this common?
Oh yeah, for some. And, I think a lot of people, when they hear, hey, this is what I got out of the session, it's like, I want to compare myself and I want that. Right? A breathwork session, you never get the same one twice. So some people will get visuals. Some people will actually hear things. Some people will experience physical sensations in their body. Some people will have a big release and they don't even know what it is. So it could be, and it also could be a very mystical experience. So it just depends on where you're at in your life, what you have unlocked as far as what you're able to work with. And that the breath could help show you whatever you need to see in that time period. So it's wherever you are. It's just kind of releasing and surrendering to what's coming through.
So if you're in a session with somebody and they start like crying unbelievably, how do you as a coach handle that?
It's a great question, because I used to be a very empathetic crier. I was a sensitive young kid until I realized, I don't want to be this. I'm going to be a more hardcore. I'm going to put these masks on, these layers up. And that served me for some time until it didn't serve me anymore. And now what I'm seeing and I had a hard time getting back to that part of me, like getting back to that sensitive, emotional person. And so when I finally did, and I allowed myself to feel that emotion, there was a real big sense of relief, a sense of like, there's a freedom within this. And so when I see someone going through crying now, rather than really wanting it to stop, I look at it as like this beautiful release, this beautiful emotional experience that they're having, because I know in the middle of that that crying episode, that feeling of feels, that there's going to be something that gets unlocked, and it happens pretty much every single time. That they're always glad they did. They might fear it as they go through it, but they're always glad that they had it happen, because there is that lightness and that freedom that lies within it.
Some people like to think of modalities like breath work as, a little woo-woo, a little airy-fairy, but you've said it's done by groups like the Navy SEALs, and that seems to be about as hardcore and unairy as you can get. Tell me about how they use breath work.
Right. So obviously, as we know, special ops training, you go through super intense training to really connect to yourself. And I think I don't know exactly when they started using it, but if you think about the stress that it must be to go into a situation like what a Navy SEAL will go into, right? And it's all relative. The same stress could be put upon a CEO making a big decision, selling a company, or even a mom worrying about their children, or making a decision to, start a career, or whatever the case may be. But if we're holding on to things that we haven't come to terms with yet, that we haven't seen within ourselves, that we don't understand about ourselves, and we go into those high stressful situations, they may come out in ways that could, for SEALs, maybe cost them their lives, right? Cost millions of dollars in a business, make a move that they're not connected to. So getting rid of, or not getting rid of, expressing what is underneath, right, is allowing them to kind of move through. So if there was, say, a childhood trauma, whatever that could be, it could be an abuse situation. It could be even just getting yelled at or told to be quiet, right? That's something that for a lot of people, it's all relative. It's very hurtful. And you haven't looked at that. And then you're in that type of situation with a company or whatever, and that comes out, then guess what? It's not going to bode well for yourself. So we might as well work on it in training, in practice, so that when we are performing at our very best, we're able to connect to the very best of ourselves. And that wouldn't get in the way. That trigger wouldn't allow us to make those right decisions. So it's about clearing those triggers, or understanding those triggers.
Well, Chris, told me all about the benefits of breath work, but I'd like to get a little bit more into the specifics of it. When you do a session, is there a particular length of time that you need in order for it to be effective?
Yeah, I typically like to teach about it's about a 45-minute class, but we're breathing actively for about 30 minutes or so. That's on average. Sometimes, if like anything, it takes time to build muscle. Some people might get really tired. They might have to go for a shorter period of time. But I think in that time, the first part of it, there's always going to be a little bit of resistance that comes up for people, just like anything we start in life. And then once you kind of fall into it, the quicker we can let go of our thoughts. And I say that lightly because I know how challenging that is, and really connect to the sensations of the body. That's when we're able to kind of go, oh, there is a feeling, an emotion, a something physical that's happening within the body, an energy that starts to swirl, that gets to move through. So when I get to kind of guide people through that, if something comes up where I'm getting a hit that I need to say something, I'll just kind of go with that, or could be a sensation within somebody's body, or whatever the case may be. And generally that might bring something up, bring something to the surface, or it just might be them being in silence, or a song that I'm playing is really just sparking something, or a memory. But yeah, I would say, you're breathing actively for that 30 minutes. And then at the end, we're doing a nice little quiet rest for 5-10 minutes. And then I'd like to, and I can't always do this with all the platforms that I teach on, but I love to have an integration after, just to discuss what happened and what came up and what surfaced, and how can we use what surfaced in that breathwork session and implement it into our lives, because ultimately that's what it's all about. Is we get these hits and understandings, just like, when you have your dreams, it's like, what do they mean and how do we integrate these things into our lives, which I think is the most important part of this work that we do.
How can people find out more about you and your work?
Great, thank you. You can go to my website, chrisplourde.com. And there you can actually get a free breathwork session, which I have. You just click on the link and have it emailed over to you. And then you can go to my Instagram, which is at Coach Chris Plourde, as well. And again, you have that at your access. And if there's a private session you want to do and just experiment with it, just let me know and we can check it out and see what it's going to give you.
We've been speaking about breathwork with conscious performance coach Chris Plourde. We'll be right back with our next guest. Do you feel fulfilled? Are you satisfied with where you are in your life? Are you achieving your goals and loving what you do? Are you making the kind of money you feel you deserve? If the answer to any of these is no, I have some good news for you. It doesn't have to be this way. My guest, award-winning author, coach, and as he puts it, recovering mathematician, Howard Sambol, has some answers for you. Howard is a life fulfillment catalyst and is the author of the best-selling book, Craft Your Genius Life. He's helped thousands of people create successful money-making businesses and live dream lives that they truly love. Welcome to the Dream Power Show, Howard.
Well, I'm excited to be here. I mean, I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Well, I am too. But before we get started, I just want to ask you this question. What is a life fulfillment catalyst?
Oh, well, that's a great question. It's somebody who, well, of course, a catalyst suggests somebody who's present, facilitating some kind of shift or transformation through their presence, and of course, techniques as well. But someone who facilitates or empowers people to create a life of fulfillment. And a life of fulfillment is more than just the material success, but it includes creativity, deep satisfaction, and feeling like every day is just a beautiful new adventure of discovery and possibility.
You would think that we all would have that because it's something we all want. But why do you believe, or what is it that you think stops people from achieving their goals and achieving what they
Well,
want?
I would say that, Debbie, I would say that the number one thing is not believing that they can have it. Beliefs, of course, always dictate everything, particularly the deep, subconsciously held beliefs that we don't consciously know we have. Another theme that I often talk about is permission. Like people have different levels of permission of what they can be, do, or have, or even what they can know, or even what they can say. This all, of course, ties in with belief work. So in life crafting, we work at a very deep level to shift beliefs, to open up possibilities, and then we help people engage with their creative self and their playful inner child, which opens up the magic, creates the possibility of the magic. Then we get super pragmatic and super focused and get everything aligned so that they can live in alignment with their purpose and also make an impact in the world, which of course leads to profit and money and success. When you give value in the world to others, then you receive. It's the law of the universe.
Yeah, isn't it funny that when we're kids, we don't think about these great life issues. We just go out there, we do what we want, and we just do it. So you help people achieve that same childlike
Yeah.
enthusiasm.
Yes, absolutely. There is a wonderful childlike innocence and wonderful playfulness that one of my greatest joys in my work is to see that reignite, to reignite in people, to awaken in people. Okay. So to use an example, one of my clients right now is a Virgo with a very, very strict, super strict upbringing, do it right, do it exact, always critical, etc. And yet she has this beautiful spirit, but it's been, pushed down for so long. So now we're working on getting it out in the open again and having fun with it.
Okay, well, let's dive deep into it. Obviously, I don't want to, betray any, names or any
Oh, no, no, no,
anonymity,
no.
but
I would never
but
do.
how do you do that with a person like that?
Well, it's a combination of different skills. And let me just say this also, Debbie. The word skill is interesting because to the average person, the word skill is external, like carpentry, computer programming, plumbing, but I have expanded the word skill to include internal skills. My philosophy in life is that nobody is broken and nobody needs fixing, but people are lacking in mastery and personal mastery related skills. So the first thing we do with somebody is get them to be aware. Awareness is always the first step. Be able to have access to what we call their witness or observer self so that they can see themselves and all their experiences from that sort of dispassionate and compassionate place. Then they can enter into mindfulness practices of noticing, allowing instead of pushing, forcing, striving, trying to use their will, just more in an allowing space. Then we begin to work on beliefs and we can begin to identify specific limiting beliefs that have been literally debilitating. And we have methods for shifting those beliefs at the subconscious level. So now there's this beautiful ripple effect, like the rock in the pond, boom, 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 and you can see all the new changes. Now, while all this is going on, we help the person clarify their life purpose. Like, why are you here? Why did you come to this planet? Not anything like what's on your resume. We don't really care about that. But getting to that inner place of truth and passion and awareness, and also your unique genius. From that emanates, extraordinary awakening and awareness. And then we take the last step, which was how can you create extraordinary value for others while doing something you love? And the answer to that question leads inevitably to their ultimate business where they make money doing what they love and they have their greatest contribution to others. That's just a short little version of the recipe.
Yeah, drawn back to the whole idea of self-limiting beliefs. And a lot of times you would tend to think, oh, well, we get those beliefs because of something terrible that happened to us in our
No,
childhood.
not
And
at
the
all.
truth is,
Not
it's
at
not
all.
necessarily that. So can you
No,
elaborate on that a little bit?
in fact, a great example that I use is the example of a man who has a boy who he dearly loves, and he starts him out at age 3, 4, telling him, son, life is hard. You just have to make the best of things. And he keeps repeating again and again, life is hard, life is hard. And the father truly feels that he's helping his son deal with life the way that it really is. So he's not in some, a panacea or some fantasy. Meanwhile, the boy is absorbing this more and more. By the time he's 8 or 10, he has no conscious recollection that his father indoctrinated him in this belief. But if we fast forward to age 40, now the man is struggling with so many things and has no clue whatsoever why. Unless somebody comes along and grabs him by the shoulder and shakes him and say, you have a limiting belief. It's time to wake up. But that invariably does not happen. And so that's why it's sad that people will tend to just live out these beliefs, these unconscious beliefs, and not really even know they're there.
Yeah. But the good news is that once you realize what that belief is, you
Once
change
you
it.
open the doorway, it's kind of like, to use a computer analogy, if you wrote some computer code 40 years ago and you didn't have, and you save the file in an encrypted file, and there was no debugging tool. So there was no way you could open the file or read the file, and you couldn't debug it. Then you would have the equivalent of people's belief systems. In life crafting, fortunately, we have the debugging tool, and we have the way to open the file, to read the file, and we can teach you how to do your own debugging, which is empowerment, not helping, rescuing, or saving, but empowering people so they become their own master in working with beliefs, and they become their own master in bringing forth their genius and their love into the world in
Now,
whatever way that form that takes.
do you find that there's like one belief that's common, the most common one, or is there many?
I would say there's probably about 5 or 10 that are extremely common that we encounter as we peel the onion down. We keep seeing them. Because I'm not good enough. There's something wrong with me. I can't something fill in the blank. No matter how much I try, I can't fill in the blank. Some variations on those. I mean, and whatever. And no one really loves me. I mean, even though they might say people won't this or they won't that, but if you peel that down, it always comes back to I'm not lovable or people just won't love me.
Mhm. But that is fixable.
Oh, all of it is totally fixable, and in a remarkably short time frame and remarkably simple kind of way. Once you have the key, and you can open the door, and you can actually see the beliefs, and you cannot judge them, have lots of love and compassion, see them, and then just be fun and creative in transforming them, then it's a good analogy is like Neo in the Matrix movie, when all the things are, like all reality is like plastic and it's all movable and changeable. It's kind of like that.
Something that I see that holds a lot of people back is fear. How do you address that?
Fear is a function of beliefs. It's still a function of beliefs. So to give your audience an idea of how we work with it, the question might be worded like, what would somebody need to believe in order to be afraid of X? And you then substitute X for wherever there's a fear. And what happens is that you keep running the same question repeatedly over and over again, and you fill up a page of all the possible beliefs that could cause a person to have fear of something. Invariably, what happens, there's going to be a few beliefs on the page that have some emotional charge to them. You zero in them quickly, and you know exactly the culprits, the beliefs that are causing the most damage that need to be shifted.
Yeah, it seems also that you're asking the kind of questions that people never get asked.
No, they know exactly. They never ask. They don't know how to ask, and that's really I guess one of the greatest benefits in our program is that just these simple skills. They're incredibly incredible. And like I said earlier, to mindfulness. What is mindfulness? Just aware and a notice. Just to notice and let go of judgment. Be aware. Because meditation, what is it? It's focusing your attention, noticing when it drifts, bringing it back gently. So if you live in a mindfulness state, you live the same way. You notice, you allow, you accept, and you keep your attention focused where you want, because your attention is what creates. Your attention is the tool of creation.
How can I get in touch with you and learn more about you?
Oh, absolutely. Well, my email address is howard@lifecraftingprogram.com. And I welcome emails from you, really, or anyone in your audience, just to chat or ask a question or set up a no cost like discovery session, whatever. One thing we did not discuss in our session today was cryptocurrency, which is a whole other dimension of life crafting. So people can check in with me on that if they like. Yeah, so that's a simple way to get in touch. I'll respond, or someone on my team will respond promptly with links and with other things.
We've been speaking with life fulfillment catalyst Howard Sambol. We'll be right back with our next guest. Ever since humankind discovered the wheel, we've been on a mission to discover tools and technology to make life simpler. Easily one of the greatest developments of the past 200 years was Thomas Edison's harvesting of electricity as a power source. Almost everything we do now, from running our refrigerators to heating our homes to controlling vast computer networks, is based on electricity. It's so ubiquitous we take it for granted. It's just always there. But does all this electricity in our atmosphere come with a price? Electricity creates electric and magnetic fields known as EMFs. For a long time, they were thought to be harmless, but are they? We're going to talk about all this with my guest, Justin Frandson. By trade, Justin's a performance athletic coach, and his concern about EMFs grew out of his seeing their effects on his clients. This has led him to promote ways to mitigate their effects. How? Let's find out. Welcome to the Dream Power Show, Justin.
Debbie, thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, it is my pleasure. And it is an important subject to get to, because if we're not healthy, we can't live our dream life. And that's my connection to it. But before we begin, could you better explain what EMFs are and why we should be concerned about them?
Definitely. EMFs are electromagnetic fields. They can be man-made or they can be cosmic. So we have to understand that the universe is electric, and so are we, and we rev one with it. So how it relates to dreams, well, it's simple. When there's a cosmic shift in the atmosphere, it throws off your REM patterns, your rapid eye movements, so you don't get into that deep, restorative, dream-like sleep. Really simple. That's when there's a cosmic shift. Now, when we introduce the man-made one-directional waveforms, it does the same thing, but so much more as an environmental toxin and a biotoxin for our body.
Yeah, I'm glad you started off with the connection to sleep, because not having regular REM cycles does affect our dreaming. And it's not the only thing that does, but certainly having this as one additional impediment just causes more problems, and especially when it's man-made.
Yeah, definitely. And we can avoid it too. We can learn the proximity awareness to turn off your router at night, get it on a timer, put your phones on airplane mode, convert your smart meter to analog, like simple things you can do to allow you to get in that deeper sleep.
Right. And what other effects do EMFs have on people aside from the REM cycle?
Well, Dr. Martin Paul out of Washington State University saw that they open up the voltage gated calcium channel. So it lets positive calcium into a negative cell, in turn causing tremendous cell and DNA damage. We also know that it destructures your water molecules. So we're mostly water. So it just messes with your body physically or chemically in so many different ways. We know that the first signs are more cognitive: focus, memory, behavior, anxiety, fatigue, lack of sleep. Those are the first things you'll start to see. Headaches. And then you go into level 2, which would be more severe headaches, migraines, ringing in the ears, muscle twitching, rashes on your skin. It's like a non-trauma concussion symptoms. And then you go the more exposure, high levels for a longer term as well. You go into the bigs: cancer, suicide, diabetes, Alzheimer's, and also let's see, what else did I miss? And then fertility, lack of fertility. So those are going to be a lot of the challenges that we'll see.
It is quite a list, to be sure. Does everyone who get exposed get harmful effects from it?
No, different people have different predispositions to it. So if your bucket's full of toxicity, You might not have a lot of heavy metals in your system, so you might not be as susceptible to it. If someone's younger or older or been exposed to a lot of EMF and has a lot of EMF in their system or their biofield, they're going to really get hit harder. They'll be that 10 to 15% of the current population that is EMF sensitive.
And if you have, some of those ailments and illnesses that you talked about before, how do you know that it's caused by EMF and not something else?
Right. I mean, there's so many different things that's the challenge right now. I think in 1998, our government set procedural levels on what's ionizing versus non-ionizing. And if it's ionizing, it creates a thermal effect. And if it's a thermal effect, it's like a microwave where it oscillates the cells and warms it up. And so if there's a thermal effect, then it's bad for you. But what, Martin Paul learned is there's low level, either way, it just causes a vibration. So at the end of the day, everyone's so strong and resilient, and our bodies are these innate healing machines that we've not been able to pinpoint and point the finger directly at EMF as a whole. Like one doctor, Tom Cowan, will say this pandemic's directly related to EMF for 5G rollout globally, and Zach Bush will say, yeah, it might be that in addition to glyphosate from Roundup. So the challenge is we can break in so many ways that we can't put our fingers on, how someone's going to break. But what we do know is that it is a major environmental toxin and neurotoxin, and then biotoxin.
Yeah, unfortunately, in today's world, there are so many toxins going on. It's a lot of harmful things going on there, for sure. How can you tell if there are high EMF rates around you?
Well, just look around, see if there's a meter, a meter, cell tower, see if there's a cluster of smart meters, which are your automated gas and electric meters. You can see the proximity awareness to where you are with your router. Is it underneath your desk? Is it near your head when you're sleeping? Are your computers hardwired? Mine's hardwired, so my router is like way away from me. So the only real device I have right now is a cell phone, and most of the time I just have it out to show you, but most of the time we have it in a Faraday bag to quiet down the noise of it. But there's simple meters you can get, Debbie, that you can meter either whether it's electricity or dirty electricity, get a Stetzer electric meter. And then if it's wireless, you get a Acoustimeter. And they can view and measure the invisible waveforms that are one directional, where we do well with waveforms that are distributed equally in all directions.
I wanted to bring up the subject of 5G plus, which has been very controversial of late. How does that connect to EMFs, and why are the airlines so concerned about it?
They have very good reason to be concerned about it. These are millimeter waves. They're on the same bandwidth spectrum as weaponry in the military. So they rev at 60 to 90 billion waves per second. And as a dream expert, when we're sleeping and delta and theta brain state, we're at 1 or below 1 to 8 hertz or waves per second. 60 to 90, and when we're supposed to be at 1 to 8, so there's a big challenge there, and to understand that. And 5G it's something that we've never seen, the electrification of our entire universe at this level with satellites and the smart grid. And then you connect this 5G now with the Internet of Things, with nuclear, and we're looking at probably about 50 times 5G is what our bodies are dealing with. So there's no scratching your head. For me, that's why everyone's getting sick. Because remember, this atmosphere we're in is all air, which is plasma. And that's where the waveforms travel. That's how we're able to chat and communicate and see each other. And it's all through a resonance, a waveform. And when you have a different waveform, a one directional that's 10 zeros faster, that's a positive charge. When we do well with that negative ionic charge coming from above, and then an unpolarized positive from below, and then unpolarized positive from above, our bodies are going to produce a virus and adapt to it. That's what we do. That's our adaptive system. So this 5G is a challenging subject.
How do we protect ourselves?
Well, a lot of it's a manufacturing challenge. So we want to really encourage these companies that are manufacturing electric whatever to ground it out. And the signals going in and out of areas, junctions per se, would need to meet. So if something's not wired properly, there's going to be a lot of EMF. So I think the first step would be to encourage all the manufacturing companies to stop cutting corners and to really spend the extra dollar to make their technology a little healthier with less EMF toxicity. Then what we want to do is understand a proximity awareness. So recognize the stressors, and then you don't want to have a cell tower right across from your bedroom, just beaming right at you all the time. That's not a great solution for health at the end of the day. So, because these things are 24/7, they don't have governors on them, they just go. So if there's 50,000 people crossing this or driving down the street per day, when there's one person at night, the thing's still going like there's 50,000. So they just, and the amount of electricity usage that they're consuming, it's wrong. I mean, they should be able to turn these things down, when we're sleeping and they're not being used, but they don't. Again, manufacturing, proximity awareness, and then the step 3 is to learn to get grounded by nature, whether it's walking barefoot, jumping in the ocean, touching a tree, or you can use our product, emfrocks.com, as a grounding bag. And these are hand mined crystals. They have moisture and magnetic properties in them that repel EMF. And they're fantastic for allowing you to get in that deep dream-like sleep.
One final question. How can people find out more about you and these products?
Yes, emfrocks.com is our website where you can find the grounding bags, the mini grounding bags, the Faraday bags. Athleticism.com is my other site. We have curated health and performance products. So that's where you can find a lot of great resources and information. And you can find all the different talks that I do and all the amazing mentors and doctors that I've learned from, and the books that I'm reading, and the books that everyone should be reading. So definitely encourage you to check those out. So thank you.
We've been speaking about EMFs with performance coach Justin Frandson. I hope you've enjoyed today's program. If you have, please tell all your friends, follow me, and drop a positive review on your podcast site. Until next time, this is Debbie Spector-Weissman saying, sweet dreams, everybody.